2 of their founding members are dead.
And that's what he's left behind for us, is absolute love.
Another founding member lost his daughter to a drug overdose when she was just 22 years of age, and singer Corey Taylor almost met the same fate. They somehow managed to end up in a lawsuit against Burger King, became the focal point of a brutal stabbing involving a Slipknot fan that pleaded guilty to a murder charge, and they have even faced legal action from their own band members. And in recent years, there has been much speculation as to why several other band members have basically been fired without warning, with the latest controversy surrounding longtime drummer Jay Weinberg being ejected from his position in Slipknot after his almost decade-long tenure with the group, much to everyone's surprise seeing Eloy Casagrande take his place upon leaving Brazilian thrash giants Sepultura. And of course, we can't forget the schoolyard feuds between Mushroomhead and Limp Bizkit. Slipknot have long been accused of simply ripping off Mushroomhead's image, and in 1999, Fred Durst called Slipknot fans fat, ugly kids, as part of an ongoing rivalry between the two groups. This is just the tip of the bloodied iceberg, so join me as we delve deep into the often disturbing world of Slipknot, fueled by anger, pain, addiction, and death. Between heaven and hell lies a mass. Losing a child isn't something you get over. That's all I can say. It changes you, and that's it.
It's going to be something we're all going to be very proud of, whether it sells 1 copy or 1,000,000 copies.
The original story of how Slipknot formed was assumed to be set in stone from the beginning. It has long been accepted that the founding members of Slipknot were Shawn Crahan, otherwise known as Clown, bass player Paul Gray, vocalist Anders Colsefni, and Joey Jordison on drums. This has been documented on many occasions. Even a Rolling Stone article published at the time of his death quite clearly refers to him as a founding member. Then in February 2024, Shawn Crahan went on record to state that Jordison was never a founding member of the group. There's all of these real misunderstandings about who started the band, and the bottom line is it was Andy, the original singer, myself, and Paul. The press and the families and all the people that have their heads up their asses, they like to adhere to everything because of ego. But I'm here to tell you, my friend, Paul Gray was at my wedding 3 years prior to he and I and Andy starting the band. That's that. It seemed very strange that after close to 30 years of Slipknot, Clown chooses this specific time to apparently set the record straight on who really was a founding member. To single out Joey Jordison, well, why is that? Could it have anything at all to do with a lawsuit that was filed by Joey Jordison's estate just months before Clown made this statement, trying to oust Jordison as a founding member? Or was the origin story of Slipknot just not what everyone thought it was? Either way, it's very strange to wait almost 30 years to set that story straight, when it just so happens you are being sued by said members of Joey Jordison's estate after his death. The estate of Jordison, who died of undisclosed causes in July 2021 at the age of 46, sued Slipknot in June 2023. The suit accused the band of profiting off the drummer's death after firing him in 2013. It also alleged that Slipknot had failed to return at least 22 items belonging to the drummer, despite the band promising to give back all of his personal effects. So Clown's version of the origins of Slipknot are simple. In September of 1995, Clown, Colsefni, and Gray formed a group called the Pale Ones. Shortly after this, Clown invited Joey Jordison to join them. This group would soon become 6 members in total, and they played their debut show in November of that year in Des Moines, Iowa, the birthplace of Slipknot. In the 2001 biography, Slipknot Inside the Sickness, Behind the Masks by British journalist Jason Arnott, it states that Crahan, Gray, and Jordison were the backbone of Slipknot from the beginning. The three would have planning sessions in the gas station where Jordison worked at the time. These planning sessions were essentially the birth of Slipknot, or that's what many were led to believe for so many years. Joey states that he was a member of Pale Ones and even helped decide on the new name Slipknot. In a 2017 interview with Loudwire, Joey had this to say. "The only thing is I have to correct, it wasn't my total idea to call the band Slipknot. It was a band discussion and a unified thing. I did suggest it, and it was a conversation between me and Shawn Crahan because we were originally called the Pale Ones. Then we were called Meld. Neither one of those names were really working. We were just kind of spitballing in a band meeting. It was just a suggestion. Me and Shawn were together all the time, so I have to credit him as well." Jordison also states that it cost the band $40,000 to record their first record, Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat. Would be recorded between December of 1995 and March of the following year, officially being released in 1996. For a time, this was considered to be the debut studio album by Slipknot, but some years later, the band would state that this was simply a demo album. "We went into the studio and it took forever to make. It was expensive and we were working our asses off to pay for it. Andy and I were doing concrete. We borrowed a lot of money from Shawn's wife because she had a real job. The album, Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat, was a pain in the ass. We did it in the middle of winter and we were driving through all this snow to get to the studio." This record, demo, or album, whatever you wish to call it, was limited to just 1,000 copies on CD. There are just 2 copies available on Discogs, one for around $200 and another one fully signed by the band at that time for the bargain price of $3,800. During rehearsals for that album, Shawn was hitting his keg with a metal pipe, and it broke in half and flipped over and hit me in the head and cracked my head open. I started bleeding everywhere, but I finished the song. And then I said, "I think I gotta go. Without blood and pain, there is no Slipknot." Nathan Jonas Joey Jordison was born April the 26th, 1975 in Des Moines, Iowa. His main influences would be Keith Moon, John Bonham of Led Zeppelin, Peter Criss of Kiss, and Buddy Rich, an American jazz drummer considered to be one of the most influential drummers of all time. Jordison started on guitar at around 5 years old and moved to drums at the age of 7, and it would be Kiss's 1975 live album, Kiss Alive, that inspired him to put down 6 strings and pick up 2 wooden sticks. Some of his early drumming skills can be heard on the 1994 release Sprawl, an EP compilation released with his previous band, Modifidius. Other members of what became Slipknot were all linked in some way through various other bands. Paul Gray was in a group with Anders Colsefni called Vex. Craig Jones was also in Modifidius with Joey Jordison, and Jim Root was in a thrash metal group called Atomic Opera, a band that Corey Taylor used to go and watch. Taylor also went to watch the early version of Slipknot with original vocalist Anders Colsefni. When I watched that first show, I was right in front. They came through the audience, scared the hell out of everybody because they're in full masks. They weren't wearing the coveralls yet, but they were just in these crazy outfits. I can't believe it, it was so gnarly. And for some reason, I was so attracted to it and drawn in by it. I was just like, I'm going to be the singer in this band someday. And I've never had that thought in a million years for anybody else. And a year later, they asked me. It's crazy. Although the boiler suits weren't yet an official uniform, the concept of scary outfits was there early on, as original vocalist Anders Colsefni remembers in a Revolver interview from 2018. The masks came into the picture when I was helping Shawn move from one house to another. We were in the basement and he picked up the original clown mask. He used to like to hang it on the front of his drum set when Heads on the Wall played shows. He put it on and I went, dude, that looks crazy. so he wore it to the next practice. However, this concept almost didn't see the light of day, as not everyone was sold on the idea of having an actual clown in the band. He would not take it off the whole time. At first, it pissed us off. You try to talk to him and he's got this clown mask on. You couldn't even see if he was serious. We were trying to talk about band shit and we went, dude, please take that fucking thing off. And he'd sit there and laugh. After a while, we're like, man, that is actually kind of creepy. Soon the entire band were all wearing masks. The first mask I had was an original pale white kabuki mask. One Halloween when I was about 8 years old, I came home from school and my mother popped around the corner with that mask on and a long robe and scared the living out of me. It's always stuck with me, so I had to use that for my mask. Shortly after the release of their demo album, this unknown group from Des Moines, Iowa would enter the studio with a solid new lineup, masks and all, and get to work on a record that would unleash Slipknot onto the world. I'm not supposed to be! I came up with the name Maggots for our fans. Someone gave me a dead bird and I put it in a jar and watched the maggots come and I studied them. We used to huff this bird before we played and just death, man. I can't explain it to you unless you inhale it into your lungs. There's just this sickness. And we'd walk on stage with that and go out of our minds.
This is our expression, this is our art, this is our life.
June the 29th, 1999, Slipknot released their official debut studio album. This self-titled record would showcase a new breed of heavy metal. Singer Corey Taylor would use this creativity as an outlet for trauma and addiction. By the age of 15, he had overdosed twice, and his broken relationship with his mother meant he was now in legal custody with his grandmother. When I was a kid, I was a speed freak. I did coke, I did meth, I did all that stuff. I quit all that when I was a teenager because I OD'd twice before I was 16. I think my heart stopped, something happened, and my friends threw me away. I think that's what happened. That's the kind of city that city is anyway. When you come to, I was covered in my own blood. I pulled myself out of the dumpster, I had no shoes on, and there's that moment where you don't really remember how you got there, and I had to walk. I was 12 miles away from my house. Whilst this isn't a normal path for a teenager, for Corey, it was just normal existence. However, that existence was drowning him in anger, which was ever present on Slipknot's debut record. But it wasn't just Corey that seemingly needed to unleash some anger, as producer Ross Robinson recalls. It was spontaneous, it was violent, things were getting broken. We were out there away from anyone else, nobody dropping by or hanging out. It got crazy really quickly. Joey Jordison also echoed a similar sentiment about how the band felt about the world around them. Slipknot wasn't just an outlet for personal anger. It was an attack on the world they didn't want to be a part of, a world they seemingly hated with a passion.
That's when we all started to realize that we wanted to do this as a dream.
There is no way you can go through life thinking everything is great, because it's not. Look at all the f***ed up shit that goes on. The world is a sick f***ing place. The fact is, you can come to our show and get all your aggression out and go away feeling relieved. I want everyone to get a rush of emotion from it. This debut record was accompanied by a rather eerie video interview of all 9 members. They clearly wanted to portray darkness, the unknown, and attempted to be as disturbing as possible with their creepy masks, and it worked. Slipknot's debut record would hit the Billboard charts on the 17th of July, 1999, and would peak at number 51, spending 77 weeks in total on the chart. Songs such as Wait and Bleed, Spit It Out, and Sick became violent fan favorites to let loose to in the mosh pit. and a tour slot on Ozfest would see them reach an unimaginable audience. 1999 saw the Des Moines Collective play over 120 shows, and the world truly witnessed the birth of a beast in Slipknot. The biggest memory for me was recording Iowa naked, cutting myself up.
We fought 2 years to prove that we are not going to go away. We're the best live act that ever was and ever will be. And it's just going to get sicker from there. There's nothing you can do about it.
Honestly, it's amazing these guys even made it past their second record. Iowa, released August 28th, 2001, wasn't just another album. This was an incredibly dark time for Slipknot. The theme of death and mystery once again ran through this LP. The artwork itself displays the skull of a goat's head.
Need so much, blah, 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 you're out. But you know what? None of that matters because their paychecks and their formulas and their equations don't compute what we have going on in our heads. It's pure color, man. It's Mars. You know what I mean?
The cover has a lot of symbolic, metaphoric solutions in it for everyone in our culture. I haven't really explained it. It's for the end times to put the whole picture together. So I'm not going to go into that. All these people think they know what Slipknot is. Everyone wants to judge a book by its cover. But if you're a good parent and you're checking out what your child is listening to, you open it up and you realize you're already part of it. There you are, your twisted little self. Iowa, though, would land Slipknot a number 3 spot on the Billboard album charts in America and charted globally in Canada, Australia, Finland, Germany, Spain, and the UK, amongst many other countries. It was a global smash hit, but it came at a high price for the members of Slipknot. It was mentally and physically destructive for all involved, and let's face it, they weren't exactly stable to begin with. Recording Iowa was how I wanted to kill myself. There were drugs, bitches, rock and roll, all that shit. When we did Iowa, we hated each other, we hated the world hated us. By the time we got to the second album, people needed to be curbed and understand their place and that their opinion didn't matter as much as they thought it did. When we were home to take a breath, it was clear that Iowa was going to be disturbing and force-fed to the world. The opening track to Iowa itself was simply 1 minute of disturbing screams, growling, and haunting noises. Not really the type of record you'd expect to see on any album chart in any country. So maybe this was a reflection of how Slipknot's audience also felt at the time, as they went out and bought copies, literally by the millions. And let's not forget that Iowa even had a song on it called People Equal Shit. During this era, Slipknot's live shows would be violent, unpredictable, and the band often turned on each other on and off stage. Slipknot had taken the anger, the rage, and their need for self-destruction on the road to the masses. I don't even know if this was on the rider, but we just had it at all times. We had at least 9 bottles of Jack at every show. We had Crown Royal, we had Jaeger. Some people drank vodka, guys would have drugs brought in, which I never saw because by that time I was just an alcoholic. There was a lot of crazy shit. I remember waking up on a pool table, just waking up in a bar. I was like, how the fuck did I get here? I was miles away from the gig. I had no idea. Iowa pretty much solidified Slipknot as a force to be reckoned with in the world of heavy metal. Songs such as My Plague, The Heretic Anthem, and Left Behind all became fan favorites. And and the video for Left Behind has racked up over 100 million views on YouTube alone. Just 2 months after its release, Iowa went gold and platinum on October the 10th, 2001, arguably one of the heaviest records to land a spot on the Billboard charts. However, this darkness that they had cast onto the world through their music had now started to infect the minds of others. San Bernardino County Sun reports that a pair of friends carried butcher knives and sang a song by the death metal band Slipknot as they lured their friend to his death, police say. Prosecutors say Jason Lamar Harris, 20, and his 16-year-old friend, Amber Rose Riley, talked about killing Terry Ray Taylor for months. This is the disturbing story of two people aged 20 and 16 who committed murder in 2003. Police detectives testified that the suspects were listening to Disaster Piece by Slipknot, taken from their second record, Iowa, just before they committed this heinous crime. The details of which are far too graphic to go into any detail. What I can say though is the way in which this crime was carried out closely matches some of the lyrics to the song. So Iowa wasn't just a dark expression of how the members of Slipknot felt, it reflected some of the darkest aspects of humanity itself.
We all know how hard we worked to get here today. We have earned this. Every single record label in North America has turned us down. I want us all to take a minute and realize how much work we put into this.
On somewhat of a lighter and more amusing note, August the 4th, 2005, Slipknot decided to take legal action against Burger King. Yes, you heard that right. Burger King. Slipknot instructed a law firm to slap a whopper of a court case onto the fast food giant. Absolutely not sorry for that. Burger King had launched an ad campaign to promote their new chicken fries. Burger King had created a fictional heavy metal group called Cock Rock and can be seen in the TV ad going crazy, wearing masks and silly costumes. Slipknot, of course, assumed that this was some sort of copyright infringement against their own personal image. The legal claim stated, "It is obvious that the television advertising and website are designed to conjure up the image and persona of a live performance of Slipknot, in addition to capturing the flavor and high energy intensity of a Slipknot performance. The members of Cock Rock wear a gas mask as worn by Slipknot's Sid Wilson, a kabuki-style mask as worn by Slipknot's Joey Jordison, and a mask with dreads as worn by Slipknot's Corey Taylor." Burger King's lawyers responded to the claim by saying that many bands in the rock and metal world wear masks and or makeup to accomplish a mask-like effect, including but not limited to the bands Kiss, Gwar, Insane Clown Posse, Mushroomhead, Mudvayne, Marilyn Manson, Lost Straitjackets, and The Spits. The lawsuit was subsequently dropped by both sides, but nobody knows why. Maybe Slipknot were offered a lifetime supply of chicken fries to forego any further legal action. But I guess we'll never know. Up until this point, the identities of the members of Slipknot were kind of unknown. They weren't exactly a complete secret, but to many new fans that had joined the journey long after these masked maniacs had broken out of their Iowa chains, the masks were the face of the group. In 2005, however, Slipknot released a music video to accompany the single, Before I Forget. This is the first video where the members are wearing normal clothes and had also abandoned their masks. Yet they still didn't show their faces. The idea for this and the boiler suits was simple. They wanted to stay anonymous for as long as possible so that people would focus solely on the music. But the red overalls and creepy imagery quickly became a hot selling point for the band. Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, is the album in question here, produced by Rick Rubin and released in May of 2004. Another big commercial success, number 2 on the US Billboard charts, and again, top 10 chart positions across the globe. Rick Rubin has become one of the most renowned music producers of modern times. He is the founder of Def Jam Recordings founded in 1984, and has produced records for the likes of Slayer, Beastie Boys, Danzig, Johnny Cash, 9 Inch Nails, System of a Down, Audioslave, and Limp Bizkit, just to name a few. And as the story goes, Slipknot recorded this record in a place called The Mansion, a 4-bedroom mansion owned by Rick Rubin, where famed magician Harry Houdini stayed for a brief time in 1919. And according to Corey Taylor, this house was haunted, no doubt adding to the creepy atmosphere of the record. Before I Forget, Duality, and Vermilion became instant classics from this era. The record showed a more overall mature sound, more melody, and of course, higher production value. And you'd think with the ever-increasing success Slipknot were enjoying, that maybe the members would also be developing, growing, and dealing with their past traumas. It was where we really started wearing our artistic side on our sleeve, because it was something that we knew that we could do and that we had done in the past, but we had never really been afforded the opportunity to do it. Well, it was largely because my alcoholism was really in full effect. I mean, it was brutal. It is hard for me to listen. And of course, as an addict, you're blaming everybody but yourself. But it was hard going, because people don't realize the damage that alcohol does to your voice. It was a gnarly, gnarly time in my life. 2 years after the release of Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, Slipknot would release Voluminal, Inside the Nine. This 85-minute long movie would grant fans access to the real Slipknot. No masks to hide behind, just all 9 members telling their side of the story. Members of Slipknot would essentially portray Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, as the record that saved the band. Another important factor here is that some members were working on side projects, giving them time away from the chaos of Slipknot. Joey Jordison had the Murder Dolls, an American horror punk band that would release their debut record Beyond the Valley of the Murder Dolls in 2002. And Corey Taylor and Jim Root, of course, had Stone Sour. Stone Sour was actually formed by Corey Taylor back in 1992, even before Slipknot. Their debut record landed in 2002 with a follow-up album in 2006, Come Whatever May. And no doubt many of you will be familiar with this global smash hit from Stone Sour, Through Glass. Not only this, some echoed the sentiment that this band of brothers was like no other, and that it was simply irreplaceable. Little did they know, they were all entering a new and even darker era, darker than Slipknot would ever face. Very quickly, folks, if you'd like to support what I do here, don't forget to subscribe or drop me a follow on Instagram. There's a link in the description. All Hope Is Gone, a title that aptly fit how the band felt at the time, would be released in August of 2008. It would be the group's first Billboard #1, but also the last record to feature Joey Jordison and Paul Gray. All Hope Is Gone would quickly become a record that none of the band enjoyed recording or even liked, and Clown thought it was a complete joke that it managed to even get to #1. All Hope Is Gone was that was different. That was very different. That was probably the most disconnected and separated I felt doing a record. This album was just very separated. I don't even remember if we necessarily jammed as a band before we recorded that record. Our producer at the time just could not seem to get all 9 of us in a room to actually play as a band. Not one of my favorite records. But this was the least of their worries. Slipknot were about to be blamed for yet another murder, this time in South Africa. On the 17th of August 2008, a high school student attacked 4 fellow students with a samurai sword, killing 1 and injuring 3 others. The attacker was dressed as a member of Slipknot, when he carried out this violent crime at the age of 18 years old. It was reported that the attacker actively practiced Satanism, and a spokesperson for a local student support network also accused Slipknot of making satanic music. It was alleged that the attacker was dressed as Corey Taylor. Obviously, I'm disturbed by the fact that people were hurt and someone died. As far as my responsibility for that goes, it stops there, because I know our message is actually very positive. At the end of the day, there are always going to be mental disorders and people who cause violence for no other reason than the fact that they're fucked up and lost. And all we can do is try to learn from it. Despite this, All Hope Is Gone became one of the band's biggest records. Sulfur, Psychosocial, and Dead Memories were the new big hits for the group, but Snuff would show a completely new side to their creative outlet. And while some fans said it was just a leftover Stone Sour song crammed into a Slipknot record, Taylor didn't even think it would end up on the album in the first place. Snuff is one of those songs, and I get into arguments with fans all the time about this. I wrote that for Slipknot. I didn't expect them to use it, to be honest, but I wrote that specifically for Slipknot because, first of all, it was regarding one of the heaviest times in my life. It was one of the heaviest disappointments, one of the heaviest heartbreaks I'd ever felt. It took years to get through. Even after moving on and being in different relationships, that haunted me for a long time, and it was brutal. Having to discard those feelings was tough.
I still press your letters to my lips.
Many members of Slipknot had already experienced heartbreak and even the loss of loved ones, but nothing would prepare them for the loss they were all about to feel. On May the 25th, 2010, the members of Slipknot took their seats to face the press on one of the darkest days of their lives. Unmasked, visibly distraught, and choked with emotion. They were here to pay tribute to their friend and bandmate, Paul Gray. Just 24 hours prior to this, he was found dead in a hotel room. He died from an accidental overdose at the age of 38. Paul Gray was born on April the 8th, 1972, and is considered to be a founding member of Slipknot. He had long suffered from a substance addiction problem, and a relapse took his life. All Hope Is Gone would also be the last record to feature Joey Jordison. On December the 13th, 2013, Slipknot announced via their official website that Joey had parted ways with the band. To our maggots and fans around the world, it is with great pain but quiet respect that for personal reasons, Joey Jordison and Slipknot are parting ways. We all wish Joey the best in whatever his future holds. We understand that many of you will want to know how and why this has come to be, and we will do our best to respond to these questions in the near future. It is our love for all of you, as well as for the music we create, that spurs us to continue on and move forward with our plans for releasing new material in the next year. We hope that all of you will come to understand this, and we appreciate your continued support while we plan the next phase of the future of Slipknot. However, just 2 weeks later, Jordison himself took to social media to say that all is not what it seemed. And this was essentially the beginning of Slipknot's band member revolving door policy. To my fans, friends, and associates, I would like to start the new year by addressing the recent rumors and speculation regarding my departure from Slipknot. I want to make it very clear that I did not quit Slipknot. This band has been my life for the last 18 years, and I would never abandon it or my fans. This news has shocked and blindsided me as much as it has all of you. While there is much I would like to say, I must remain silent to further details at this time. I would like to thank you all for your unwavering love and support, and wish everyone a very happy and healthy new year. Joey. For several years after this, fans were pretty much left in the dark about what really happened between Slipknot and Jordison. Then in 2016, he broke his silence and decided to share his version of events, whilst receiving the Metal Hammer Golden God Award he said the following: "I got really sick with a horrible disease called transverse myelitis. I lost my legs. I couldn't play anymore. It was a form of multiple sclerosis, which I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. I got myself back up and got myself in the gym and got myself back in therapy to beat this shit." Joey then revealed he was simply fired via an email. Not even a band meeting took place to discuss anything. According to Joey, this decision was made by Corey Taylor and Shawn Crahan. On July the 26th, 2021, Joey Jordison died in his sleep at the age of 46. For his family and his fans, this left a bitter taste in the mouth of Slipknot's legacy. And in recent years, there has been much speculation regarding who is really in control of Slipknot, with much of that speculation being aimed at one man, Shawn Crahan. Jay Weinberg, Joey's successor, met a similar fate after close to a decade with the group. Slipknot stated that it was simply a matter of creative differences, but Jay says he had no idea he was about to be fired, or really why he was fired. These events have turned many Slipknot fans against them, leading some to believe that the brotherhood between the nine never really existed in the first place, and that it was simply about money. And we haven't even touched on the departure of other members or legal battles such as Chris Fenn and Craig Jones. The story of Slipknot is one that is overshadowed with trauma, betrayal, addiction, and death. Yet they continue to dominate global charts with their most recent release, We Are Not Your Kind, in 2019, and The End So Far in 2022. How many records or band members does Slipknot really have left in them? I guess only time will tell. If you want to support my channel directly, you can become a member by clicking the join button below. It's a monthly subscription you can cancel at any time through YouTube, and you are directly supporting my channel financially, helping me to continue producing these documentary style episodes for you. Or finally, how about grab yourself one of these special edition items of clothing from my clothing brand LUCIS, with some of the designs collabed with the amazing cowboy illustrations. Everything is linked below.